This episode is brought to you by Pixel 2 Editions, a full-service fine art printing company. More about them later. Hello and welcome to In the Art Scene podcast, an art podcast that has it all. I'm your host, Galina Marquez, and I invite fascinating people to talk about their personal creative journeys, success stories, and inspiration. We talk about art business and marketing, how to find your creative voice, and all the new trends in the art world like NFT, AI, and such. Join me and my guest for today's conversation. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome to In the Art Scene podcast. And I am having a very interesting guest today because we're venturing a little bit off the traditional art world into the world of interior design. But I promise you, this is going to be a treat because we are having one and only her colorful self, Jenna Pilant from Room Bloom.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
Hi. Well, let's just start from the beginning. Let's talk about who you are, where you came from, and how did you become such a colorful person? Because I mean, this is bold, guys. If you haven't seen her Instagram or her YouTube, like you have to check it out.
Well, you're very, very kind, Galina. If I'm having a bad day, I definitely know where to go. Gosh, that was a lot of questions. So what did you want to start with?
I just wanted to talk a little bit about your upbringing. Have you been always, such a color lover, like a rainbow girl?
Well, it's that whole which came first, the chicken or the egg. As you see now, I'm sitting in the Room Bloom design office and
very yellow.
Very yellow. So I came home from the hospital to a yellow-walled blue carpet
nursery,
rainbow-themed nursery.
Nice.
So
start them early.
I don't know if I came out of the womb loving color, but I definitely got nurtured by color. Not so much like nurtured within that home, but nurtured within that room. And that room became my safe haven all growing up. You're going to learn real quick. I'm a pretty open book, but I have CPTSD. It's complex post-traumatic stress disorder. And that happens when you have trauma within the first 15 years of your childhood. And 3 to 18, they were interesting. But back to the room. The room was, like I said, it was my safe haven, my refuge from the storm. And I grew up in central Nebraska on a dryland farm. Well, not on a dryland farm. My dad was a dryland farmer, but gosh, it's just so complicated. It's hard. Like sometimes I'm like, I need to sit down and like write a Cliff Notes version. But so I basically grew up on a farm where creativity and my imagination was like my only stimuli. So I'm on this farm growing up. I go to a school in a small town, K through 12. Went to school with the same 37 assholes. I feel about cussing. I'm sorry.
That's fine.
Okay. Farm girls coming out.
Yeah, I'm just listening to you. Like, okay, are you telling a story of my life? Major trauma before 15, going to the same school like for 12 years with the same assholes. Like, like
yeah.
Do we have to go through this to become creative art lovers, color lovers? Like,
well, that's
is there an easier way?
It really is like color is my light, or my light is color. But yeah, so grew up in a small town. It's very, it's Nebraska, so GBR, go Big Red. The Nebraska, the collegiate football team is the be all. That's everybody's everything, basically. That and hard work. And I just, I've always been creative. Not to talk in extremes, but I really have always been creative. And so that room, I just really feel like that was the start of what came to be of Room Bloom design. And then growing up, I showed my quarter horse Tassie in both Western and English equitation. Typical farm girl life. But then I was also creative. So I was, I was gifted with the talent of song. So I, grew up on stage basically. That's actually what I majored in. I have two music degrees, one in musical theater and one in music business from the University of Nebraska at Kearney. Can't spell flunk or drunk without UNK. And yeah, so it was my creativity growing up in that small town. It was my refuge. That room was my refuge. So yeah, spaces of color and creativity have been my part of my coping mechanisms. And yeah, when you're not getting what you need at home or at school, but there's those it's just like if you think about a rainstorm. There's a rainbow after every rainstorm. So that's really what I'm trying to say with my interior design, with my hashtag ban the beige and embrace your weird is, and that's the thing, as I build my portfolio, I'm looking forward to branching out more with color and kind of marrying the the beige with us Technicolor folks. Because the thing is Room Bloom design is more about the heartbeat of the nerd that lies in each of us. And, nerd has such a harsh connotation, but really.
Oh, we love nerdy on this podcast.
Your inner nerd is the heartbeat of you. So it's whatever makes your clock tick. So in a lot of ways, I'm very thankful that I had the trauma that I did, because I don't believe I would be the polychromatic designer I am without it. But man, 30, the past 3 years, just having to really stop and not be as busy as I've always been has really has put a magnifying glass on my why, and has been very gut-wrenching, dark ideations, just a lot. But the rainbow on the other side of that storm is now this month, I've started with a new therapist. I've started a women's codependency group, which when I was told, recommended I get in the codependency group, I was like, why? I want something that's more to do with CPTSD and my shopping tendencies. And they're just like, you need to take this group. Well, I'm in this class, last night was week 2 and it's an 8-week course. And I'm like, oh, now I get it.
Now you get
Now I get it.
All right. Well, before we move forward, I got to ask you, how comfortable are you to talk about your trauma?
I'm fine. I'm an open book. Alina from my Insta stories.
I do.
If you can see my Insta stories, then you can. And the reason I share, it's funny that you brought this up, because I was actually going to talk about in stories today. Because you get the Debbie Downers in your DMs. Let's be clear. The reason I share is because I grew up in a family where it was such a hands-off topic. You can literally hear their sphincters tighten when, last time I was home in 2019, I said, well, my therapist, and it's all the buttholes went, oh God. And I mean, it's at this point, it was a game to me seeing them uncomfortably shift in their seat, because I'm like, wow. But that's the reason I talk about it, is because until I hit rock bottom this past November, I didn't even know what CPTSD was. I mean, you think about PTSD, I think of war heroes and, people that have been through real trauma. But the thing is, I've learned through going through that darkness is, oh gosh, my brain just went blank. Hold on one second.
We'll cut the dead air.
Yeah. Say that. What were we just talking about? My brain just went blank completely.
We were talking about your trauma. So if you're okay telling us what happened, and because obviously it sounds like you had a lot to cope with, and that is honestly not how I anticipated this interview to go. And this is the reason why I never prepare the questions, because I was thinking about like, oh, here's Jenna Pilant, and she's going to be, like how you were on YouTube, you were colorful, you were like sprinkles and rainbows and unicorns.
That's the
And
thing is, I think you guys
yeah,
are going
and
to
then
start getting more of the real me because
yeah. So now I'm
hitting rock bottom really just like, I guess,
so
pulled
yeah.
back. I'm like, don't look at the woman behind the curtain. Damn it, Toto. Uh, it's just, yeah, it's been a lot, but it's been really good because after hitting, going throughout the beauty of like this January is that I'm really starting to feel like for the first time in my 38 years, I just turned 38 this past December. Go Sag, where my SAG's at.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. But yeah, gotta love, I mean, I'm like to a T a Sagittarius, so uh like it's scary. But yeah, like I really feel like for the first time in my 38 years, I'm starting to understand my own inner clock. And I mean, the beauty is every time I've been Jenna, what I am has been threatened. I've doubled down on me miraculously for some reason. Um, but I'm figuring out a lot of like the why I am what I am. I've embraced that even though when I haven't understood it fully. But that's the thing is like I'm trying to be more real on camera because for the longest time my husband actually wouldn't watch episodes of Room Bloom because he would watch it and he'd be like, that's not you. And I'd watch it and I'd be like, yeah, that's me, that's performer Jenna. And he's like, but why can't you just be Jenna? But growing up doing musical theater and where I only got attention when I did well in showing horses or performing because they were always wrapped up in their shit, the fighting and the volatility between that, which, I just learned in the last couple of weeks that the reason my parents are the way they were is because they were both, my dad was so enmeshed with his toxic nuclear family that he can never leave that web to fully come to our web. And then I've come into my marriage still playing the role of I'm going to make everything fine and beautiful and colorful and look at me, look at me. And I'm learning how not to play that role. So I think, I don't know, there's going to be probably like a whole, like people couple arms are going to be like, I don't know this person. And they'll either stick around or they'll jump ship, but that's fine. It's all fine because, it's all relative. And that's what I've learned is trauma is all relative. I used to think my trauma was bullshit. And now I'm realizing that no, my trauma is my trauma. It might not be as bad as somebody else's trauma, but my trauma is also a lot worse than
Someone else's.
Watch these movies and I'm like,
yeah.
Parents are supposed to be like, what? So.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for sharing. I really love that this podcast is a safe enough space for a lot of creatives who have already shared their stories here, and it's amazing how how many people who are listening can actually I'm getting messages like, oh, I relate to this story, or I relate to that story, because I guess we all in the way are coming from similar situations, from traumatic childhoods. We're coping in our own ways, and us creatives, I guess we're just lucky enough to have that outlet, because it not only works for us but also works for everybody else who sees what we have to create.
Yeah, Sarah Bareilles has this beautiful lyric. I think it's the song Orpheus, but it's we're all hunters searching for solid ground. And we really are.
Yeah.
And that's like, my creativity is so much. I mean, hopefully people keep paying me for my color because
I think you are onto something, girl, there. It's
but
really
I mean, I hope people keep paying me for it. And the reason I say that is because it's my therapy. So you're really, I guess, if you believe in like paying it forward, here's a new concept for it. Yeah, paying it backwards. Because anybody that supports Room Bloom Design or hires me is really, I'm going to get choked up. They're really loving that little girl, little Jenna. And that's what I'm realizing. Like, I'm just realizing, like, so, like, how I push this. I mean, I'm getting really deep here, but like, and this stuff you guys don't even, but like, I push my help onto my loved ones and like the people in my life now. And The reason I do that is because when I tried to state what I needed as a child, I was told those feelings didn't matter. So in the reverse, I'm making sure that everybody in my life makes sure they know they matter. And the cost is my energy, my sanity. It's everything. Like I'm exhausted every day by like noon. Granted, I get up between 3:30 and 5:30 without an alarm clock, which is annoying AF. Take the girl off the farm, but you can't take the farm out of the girl. So it's just, yeah, I'm just exhausted every day. And I'm realizing that my exhaustion isn't from the work. It's because of what's all going up here under my beanie.
Which is a very cute beanie, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Somebody told me that they've never heard it called a beanie before. Or no, was it stocking? No, it was stocking hat.
Stocking hat.
Stocking hat. And someone's like, or maybe it was it was one of the two. Might see.
I've never heard stocking hat.
Oh, it's stocking hat. That's what it was.
Okay.
I called it a stocking hat, and they're like,
but don't listen to me.
Stocking hat. And I'm like, that must be another. See, I'm a conundrum because my mom's from Northeast Texas, and my grandmother, when I was 2, my grandfather died suddenly, and she moved up and lived with us when I was like from 2 on. So Nebraska doesn't have an accent, which like, I don't know if you know this, Johnny Carson, Norfolk, born and raised Norfolk, Nebraska. There's so many like big top anchors on news channels and stuff from the Midwest because we don't have an accent, a dialect, but we do have words like pop and sack instead of bag. And I'm guessing stocking hat's another one, but I also have my grandmother's side. Like I say y'all, which I get so much shit for. People are like, you're not from Texas. I'm like, oh, it's so complicated. Like I know I sound this way, but like my grandma always said yellow when she answered the telephone, which I'm like, that's the color.
Yellow. That's
yellow.
nice.
Over yonder, still don't have a clue where that is. And like hamburger meat. Did you know we killed live hamburgers on the prairie? Just stuff like that. So it's like, I'm a conundrum. So like someone's like, I've never heard it called stocking hat before. And they put laughing emojis. They were all good. But I was like, oh, is that another one? So I actually used, I guess, the right one, beanie. I was thinking in my head, I'm like, which is the correct one? See? And that's my people pleasing. I'm like, which one's the correct one? Use the correct one.
Yeah. You don't look at me. Don't listen to me because English is my second language. And like
I know, but like
I don't know all the words.
For all the stories, Kalina, no one should care.
Yeah.
Like, well, no one should care. Like I shouldn't care. Like I literally was thinking like, wait, which was the one they said they never heard? Because I want to use the correct one. Who gives a shit? It's a stocking hat.
It actually makes
it a stocking hat.
It makes more sense than a beanie, actually.
I'm guessing it's stocking hat. I'm guessing. I think it's called a stocking hat when it has the ball on it. But I don't know. Again,
I don't know, but it actually stocking hat makes much more sense. Makes much more sense to me.
I don't know what I'm talking about. But yeah, so stocking, beanie, but yeah. But anyway, all like my exhaustion comes from my own brain, not from anything I'm physically doing. I mean, granted, some days I'm like demoing down walls and stuff like that, crazy, but I enjoy that stuff. But yeah, I'm realizing that it's exciting, all the stuff I'm discovering about myself, but it is exhausting. Cause I mean, as you know, you're one of my diehard color loves. There's been just like days I just haven't shown up on stories, which has been very unlike me and as past Jenna. But there's some day like yesterday, I just could not bring myself to get on stories. I thought about it all day. And I was just like, I can't, I just don't have it in me. I realized I was saving that energy for my codependency group at last night. Tried to just subconsciously, I was like, hold on. And I was like, okay, that's why I did that. Which I'm grateful for that now. I mean, when I scheduled this podcast interview, I wasn't even in this codependency group because I probably would have scheduled a different time, but you're getting an open book with me now.
Yeah. When you said before we hit recording, like, oh, I had a codependency group last night and a therapy this morning. I was like, well, that's going to be a very interesting interview because I can imagine what kind of headspace you're in right now.
Yeah. I know, it's literally like, but that's the thing is my creativity. But I mean, think about, I hate this word, my brand. Like let's use community. Yeah. Tribes out, right? Yeah. Tribes out, community. The color love community is, you guys are very much my refuge, like part of my therapy. And the whole, again, I'm gonna say this, my brand is like, embrace your weird, ban the beige. And I mean, yes, I hate beige. I hate ivory. I hate's a strong word, I know, but in this case, it's correct. Yeah, I don't like that. Um, However, it doesn't mean that if you love beige, you're a bad person, because beige is still, wait, hold on. I'm going to try to keep this one down. Beige is still a color.
She almost puked.
It's still a color. It's part of the color family.
Keep it down.
Yes, Karens, we are part of the color family.
You said that.
No, but it's, like it's still a color. The only thing that's like, there's the argument between white and black, like what's a color, what's not. You fight amongst yourselves. I don't want to be in that fight. But I just, yeah, it's not about that. People think it's about me hating on them. Like, oh, you hate, oh, like, people like, oh, like I'll meet a fellow interior designers and they'll say, oh, we're so different. You probably hate my interiors. I don't hate anything. I don't personally get it, because I'm going to call bullshit that your favorite color is beige for the most part. Now, I have been stand corrected. My friend Emily, she's totally a designer that loves beige, like, and she proved it to me, because when I met her and the whole entire conference we were there together, she was wearing beige and ivory and everything the whole time. I was like, okay, she like walks the walk. And that's the thing. When people meet me, they'll be like, oh my God, you are your brand. I'm like, no, no, no. My brand is me. Like, I dress like this. Like, I've always dressed colorful. Like, granted, I've gotten more solidified in self the last decade. So I'm sure it has, you've seen it progress. But, I was doing crazy stuff in high school and junior high and even elementary, like with color. So it's all relative.
Well, I gotta ask you then. So, and this is, I think, is a perfect segue. So, after school, you said that you went to university to learn, like performing, like musical theater and music, which is a very like performance art kind of thing, but it's not visual. So, being such a visual person, why did you choose those majors? And how did you actually, ended up coming back to color and being such a visual person and manifesting yourself in your life in color?
Yeah. That's a very good question. So in high school, the main plan, like my main plan has always been to be happy. And I knew that my happiness was directly related, for whatever reason, good or bad, was related to creativity, because of the praise, the attention, the accolades I had received as a child. Like, I was taught from a very early age that amidst the chaos, that was something that could completely pause it all. So again, chick or egg, I don't know. However, it's just, because of that response, or that cause and effect, the reiteration that like, oh, this is good. This will get me the love and the need. I'll get my needs met. But then in that also, like, I was also the daughter of a farmer. So my dad was like, you're going to major in musical theater. Like, what are you going to do with that? So that's why by the way, I was paying for college. So on top of doing a musical theater degree, I added on the music business, because I was like, oh, that's a business degree. At least that'll shut him up. I was paying for it anyway. So I put myself through 6 years of school, because a lot of people don't understand about music majors is there's so much curriculum that a lot of 3-hour course classes are deemed as 1 hour. So there was
Wow.
a lot of times I had 9 classes, which equaled 12, or 9 courses that equal 12 hours. But in reality, a lot of those were 3-hour courses. I mean, I think even like my voice study with my professor, which, at one point I was getting like, I think it was maybe just a lesson. I think there was like 2 lessons a week at one point. But then like you're practicing every day and stuff like that. Like there's no way that's 1 credit hour like of credit. So me tacking on the second degree just to appease my father, made it, because they were also two different. Like one was music theater, and the other one was music business. So there were a few courses that were the same, but like I was musical theater major, and I also had to take conducting. Like I remember I had like I had a panic attack, so we had to conduct the university's band for that course, like go in during their rehearsal and each take turns conducting the whole entire University of Nebraska at Kearney band. And that was just, I mean, I can sing in front of thousands of people, but conducting a band, which like there's also like the musical theater singing like part of the department, and then there's also like the band nerd side of the department, and they don't really.
Yeah,
So
get it.
it's terrifying. So anyway, I just, I did that. But literally the reason I majored in music, the reason I came to music and not like art visual, to answer your question, I literally flipped a quarter in high school and tails won. So art was at the forefront, but music, and I also, the plan was also to go to UNK only for a year, because I was also accepted down to Belmont University in Nashville, Tennessee, which is the music business college. So I guess in a lot of ways, me adding the music business on wasn't a surprise. But the reason I decided not to go to Nashville is it was out of state tuition. I was paying myself, like I was going to go for a year to UNK, get some gen eds out of the thing, and then go out there. Well, then, some fellow students partied too much during that first quarter of freshman year, lost their scholarship. And because of my work ethic, because like I didn't come into UNK with a perfected instrument. Like I pretty much had to like demo down all of my walls, because I had this big voice, where teachers in high school or in like grade school, junior high, high school had taken advantage of that naturally big voice. And, like, oh, be louder, Jenna, push, but I was doing it all incorrectly. So I pretty much like freshman, sophomore, junior, even part of my junior year, I was questioning the whole musical theater thing, because I was like having struggles like with yodeling, like where I'd be like singing and all of a sudden my voice would just crack, because I was trying to learn how to sing correctly and not just all chest. So yeah, so it wasn't easy going that route by any means. I probably would have had more sanity and less college debt if I would have gone the artistic route. I don't have any regrets though, because I really feel like everything in my life has led me to Room Bloom Design, because at home, living on the farm, like one of the things I did to help keep the peace is that I was always cleaning. And I mean, this is from like say age 8. I was like cleaning. If someone mentioned something needed painting or something like that, I was, I grew up in a family of do-it-yourselfers. So, I mean, my parents built the house I grew up in, an earth-burned home that they still live in, as far as I know, an earth-burned home that they built during their engagement. I mean, I believe that if they hadn't had that project, they probably wouldn't have gotten married. I mean, the thing is they were really good at doing projects together.
Yeah.
I was an okay project. I turned out, colorful
Well,
at least.
well, we're all happy on behalf of your color lover family. We're all happy the way you turned out. So
But yeah, so it's like, yeah, so I did music. But anyway, so like, but then like the theater aspect, I was working. The thing about theater is you learn to be a team player. Like you're working on sets, especially in community theater, because for the longest time, I wasn't getting roles at university, but there was Kearney Community Theater in the same town. So I was like, fuck it. Like, I'm going to go over there. So I started auditioning over there. I mean, even like my last year of college there, I was working full time at the television station, finishing, like getting ready for my senior vocal recital. musical director of a show at Carnegie Community Theater, and I'm on the board at Carnegie Community Theater.
That's a
Why was I
lot.
doing all that stuff? I don't have, and I was also planning my first wedding at the time. Like, why was I like insanity?
Yeah, it does
That
sound like a lot.
But that was my coping mechanism. Like, what I'm realizing is busyness is what kept me sane. And that's why when these last 3 years have happened with COVID, and for multiple reasons, the Pilants just had to like stop. It brought up a lot of stuff because I literally had to stop and be. And Jenna don't just like being with nothing to do. Like, I don't know how to sit still. Like, my whole thing now on Sundays is family day. And I challenge myself to just sit in our bedroom and watch TV with my husband. Typical guy that can watch hours and hours of TV. And I just can't do that. But I need to physically stop, because if I don't, it's about 2.5, 3 weeks, my body just stops for me. So, because I've noticed exhaustion all my life. Like, it happened in high school. I would go. Say it was like the time of the musical, blah, blah, blah. Especially a small town, you're doing everything. And then I would just crash after. And it was always like that. But yeah, so it's in a very interesting path getting here. But like, even getting a television job the last 2 years of my 2 degrees, I feel like that has led me to Room Bloom on YouTube. It's like, I got all this, like, I remember being in school and my dad being like, why are you going to get a television job? Like, I thought you wanted to do music. But I had, and she's still one of my dear, dear friends, Dr. Ann Foradori, my vocal professor back at university. She still teaches there. Recent cancer survivor. But she had said when I was having all these vocal problems, she's like, but Jenna, she's like, you have a lot to offer. Like, you're animated. She's like, you could just do straight up acting. You could do voiceovers. She's like, I mean, I don't like to talk about this kind of stuff, but she's like, your face is square. Like, you've got a good television face. She's like, you have a lot of stuff going for you. She's like, I don't want you to think that, like, if this singing thing doesn't like go as planned, you don't have options. And that really stuck with me. And I've had multiple little earth angels like that along the way that have planted little seeds of self-esteem in me that have been my life rafts through those darkness, or have helped, been my guiding light to be like, well, I'm going to go this path, even though, I mean, that's really why I got on musical theater, is after I got into therapy and realized why I was a performer, it just made me go, ooh, I don't like that. It was more of like, look at me. Like, when I found out that like most performers are children of addicts, or narcissism, whatnot, it was an eye opener. And I'm like, here I thought it was all God-given talent. It was also a necessity. Like, there's that wonderful line from Wicked the musical that are people born wicked, or do they have wickedness thrust upon them? And it's just, monsters aren't born, they're made. Creatives aren't born, they're made. There's a reason why each of us do everything that we do. I mean, like, you hear these stories where people, like, they got rescued by a firefighter and then they turn around and be a firefighter. Like, there's just, that's the thing, is you've just got to find the beauty amongst the mess and this crazy thing we call life.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you sure found a lot of beauty.
I'm trying.
Well, you created a lot of beauty. That's what you do.
Well, my hope is to do that for others. To really help, because I love San Diego. Like, this California was always the dream for me, and I fucking love it here. But gosh darn it, they love their beige. Like, all the
coastal vibes, yeah.
It's all 50 shades of beige, all the track homes. It's beige on ivory, taupe on almond.
Well, I don't know. Maybe that's because we're so close to the desert. Maybe that's why. Who knows? Because when you go to the desert, I mean, beautiful, beautiful sceneries and Joshua Tree and everything. But
our dream is to buy land in Joshua Tree and build a mid-century modern home. And it's going to be colorful as blankety blank. Like, I'm just dying, like, because people, but that's the thing is like, but that's just people's naturally go to. And the thing is, people aren't scared of color. They're scared of living with a decision.
That's a good point, actually. Yes, that's a really good point.
Take color out of it. It's the decision. It's the decision-making process. I don't like to make decisions. Like, it's hard. And, you really mull over stuff and you try to, like, that's the thing though. Like, that's why people need to hire me, because I like, something I get told a lot is like, oh, you just have this way of just throwing colors together. I'm like, there's no throwing anything together. Like, I mull over everything. Like, there's a reason that door is that color and it wasn't an orange door over in that entryway in our house. Like, everything was meticulously thought out. And that's what I'm here for. That's why I've gone from being calling myself an interior designer, or I still call myself a content creator, but I'm a polychromatic designer. Like, I work with color, whether it be furniture, murals, art installations, interiors, exteriors. Color is my medium. And whether it be like, I used to think like upholstery, that's because, I that was my trade growing up that I did with my mom, who was a seamstress. And, I used to think, oh, like upholstery is my thing. But then like you look at all my upholstery designs and what is it? It's color, like, it's Technicolor daydreams.
Hey, In the Arts Scene listeners. Do you remember Mark O'Donnell from Pixel 2 Editions? He's been on the show in Season 3, Episode 7, and told us everything we need to know about giclée printing. And take my word for it, Mark and his team are the best in Southern California and beyond. I've been a client of Pixel 2 Editions since 2019, and I've been shouting about them from the rooftops ever since. Luckily, I don't have to do it anymore because I have a podcast. Despite being San Diego local, Mark and his team are working with some of the best photographers and artists from all states, including Clark Little and Kadir Nelson. And frankly, if you are a photographer or a digital artist, you don't need to be local to work with Pixel 2 Editions. Just use a file upload on their website for your heavy images and write down the specs. They can print small proofs for you on any substrate you want and ship them to you for free. And for my listeners, they offer a free 8x10 full image proof on metal. Just tell them that you heard about them on the podcast and they will take care of you. Let me tell you, their metal prints are amazing. Whenever I order mine, they fly off the shelves in no time. So I highly recommend you try it out. And oh, did I mention that they are a full service company? It means that they do everything from color correcting and printing to framing and shipping directly to you or your clients. So don't wait, go to pixel2editions.com, 2 is a number, and editions is plural, or call 858-549-7299. Again, pixel2editions.com, 2 is a number, and editions is plural, or call 858-549-7299. Say hi for me. So yeah, I have a question. So you graduated with a music degree. You had all kinds of stuff going on. You were working on television, producing the theater, etc., etc. So how did that come about? You dropped everything and moved to California, and then because before you became an interior designer, you had a pretty successful upholstery business.
Well, and I still do upholstery. That's I mean, just to clarify, Homebird Upholstery has gone under the Room Bloom Design umbrella per se. You can cut this out, but I'm going to give you a scoop today on something that no one knows. Let's see. So how did I get to California? I got married to my first husband, the last year of college. He got a music business internship in Carlsbad, California at NAMM, the National Association of Music Merchants, which if you've been to North County, San Diego, it's they sponsor the Museum of Making Music. So if you've been to Music, you have actually been to NAMM.
Yeah, I know that place very well.
Yeah. But in our university was part of the NAMB University, the NAMM University. I don't know if they still call it NAMB, but it was part of that program. So every spring, January, we actually flew out to the NAMM show. We had that opportunity. So I attended the NAMM show twice. My fiance at the time, now my ex-husband, went to it multiple times. But, we were getting ready to get out of school. I still, even though I decided not to go to Nashville for school, I still wanted the hell out of Dodge. Like all growing up, the plan was to get the hell out of Nebraska. It's nothing against the state of Nebraska. I want to clear that because people are like, you're hating on Nebraska. I'm very proud to be a Nebraska farm girl. I am who I am because of that upbringing. If I had a different nuclear family situation, maybe I would have stayed. Who knows? But also, God love Nebraska, there's not a whole lot there creatively for me to do. I mean, my big option would have been to move to Omaha, Nebraska, because if you're going to live anywhere, Omaha, although I can't say that now, Lincoln, Lincoln's lovely. I would live there probably too. Lincoln and Kearney feel a lot the same where I went to university. They're about 2.5 hours apart on I-80. They're kind of like twin cities in a lot of ways. Honestly, they feel the exact same when you're driving around. Omaha does not feel the exact same way. I don't know if it's still this way, but when I was growing up, Omaha, Nebraska had a worse gang crime rating than LA.
Wow.
So it's bad. But anyway, those were like my options. And, I could have done graphic design or whatever, but, like the dreamer in me, I'm like, I'm going to be the next Ethel Merman. God love her. Not Ethel Merman, younger Jenna. Actually, both of them. Give them a hug. So I still wanted the hell out of Dodge. Well, Thomas, we've been NAMM a couple times. I knew about the NAMM internship. So I really pushed him to do the NAMM internship. Actually, so much so I wrote a good chunk of his essay for that internship because I really wanted to get the hell out of Dodge. I mean, yeah. That's one thing. Like, I hope to write a book someday, honestly, because I do get a lot of joy out of writing. So I'm a good writer. I will toot my hat to that. So I helped him with that. He got the internship. So we got married and then he went straight out to the internship. And then somebody was going on maternity leave. He got a temporary job in trade show sales at NAMM and then ended up getting a job there. And I'm not going to go down that whole path. That's a whole nother podcast interview for Love and Addiction episode.
Well,
30. No, I'm kidding.
If you're up for it, I'll have you back.
So that marriage didn't work out. But so anyway, so I was still trying to like go the theater route, got a job actually at New Village Arts Theater in Carlsbad, California, where I was running the Artist Foundry, the music series and special events. So I planned their annual gala. I was there almost a year, which that's a whole nother story too. But I met Daryl, my now husband, during that time. Newly divorced, like filed, not even finalized, like, filed for divorce. Daryl comes into the scene. That was a whole love whirlwind. I moved in within 3 weeks of meeting him, or not meeting him, of dating him, not meeting him, of dating him. And here we are 11 years. We celebrate our, it's February today, huh? I shouldn't say that because I don't know when this is airing.
No, we're recording on February 1st. Yeah, but this podcast is going to be out, in April.
Okay, so I won't say February, but we're celebrating our anniversary on our wedding. Well, we have the same anniversary for everything. I gave him one date to rule them all. February
That's smart.
10th. Yeah, February 10th. It was our date of our first date. La-di-da-di-da. And then we got married on that date or eloped on that date. But anyway, so I met him that year. And in that year, working New Village Arts, he really was like, he's like, what do you want to do? And I'm like, I'm doing what I want to do. And he's like, but what do you really want to do? And he could tell I wasn't happy. The way the job had been portrayed to me in New Village Arts was I was going to be able to audition for the theater company. And then again, this is why I don't like talking about this subject, but my in that instance, my looks worked against me because of the director of that theater company. Um, you know, I was always treated nicer when I didn't feel good, if you catch my drift, or wasn't feeling myself. So I was portrayed that this job was going to lead to me being on stage, and then literally getting a call back for the supporting role, the supporting nurse of Nurse Ratched. I'm getting ready to walk on stage to do my callback. And it's like, oh, we just wanted to give you, like, she tells me, we just wanted to give you the compliment of the callback because, but we just think you're too busy with your job responsibility.
Oh my God.
So like, not only deflated me, but then like totally sabotaged my callback. So it just had become like, and I'd share that all with Daryl. It just become clear to me that if I was still going to do theater, this was not going to be the path. But at that point, I didn't even know if I wanted to do theater, because the joy I had felt in music had already been tarnished. It had been tarnished at a very early age. I would get off stage most of the time and, or see my parents after a performance, and it would be like that one note, or like there was always something dropped in my cup, and then would splash out all the good feelings that I had about it.
And that's how you became perfectionist.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's why I stopped singing, basically, because it just got to be too much. There was no joy in it. I'm learning how to get back into that joy slowly. But yeah, so I just, Daryl could miraculously see that in me, that I wasn't happy. So I was like, I've always done this upholstery thing as a hobby. And I was like, and Eric, my mentor, that was the thing, is I grew up doing upholstery projects with my mom, but I didn't really start like, and I learned how to sew through my mom, but then I really didn't get like into like really complicated upholstery until I started. My first marriage was going to shit, and I was working a full-time job at an office, a staffing office, and I didn't want to go home at night. So I literally looked it up, and Palomar College had an upholstery program that was run by James Eric Duvall. And he became like one of my best friends, my mentor. And so I was taking classes at night with him. And then I met Daryl, and then I started this new job at New Village Arts, which was 2/3 time, which is so confusing, but it was definitely full time. I had a little more freedom. So I just was like, so I'd been doing this upholstery stuff on the side for people when they found out. But so I basically just December 18th went in, gave my notice, gave my letter to my bosses at New Village Arts, and, just went that route. But the thing is Eric was always like, you're not an upholsterer, you're a designer, which I used to get so butthurt about, because all I wanted was, with my daddy issues, all I wanted was Eric's respect, because I was trying to fill that void. So, but Eric passed away in 2015, right before we bought this house. So he never got to see it. But he was, even though he was really out of it, he was at the San Diego admin building when we got married, out at the gazebo. He was there. Again, I don't know how coherent it was, because I look back at those pictures and I'm like, why did I even make him pose for pictures? And also, like, why did I push for him to be there? Anyway, that's a whole nother thing. That was very selfish of me. But yeah, so he passed away. And then like after that, we moved into this house, and, we're in Northeast San Diego County, and, I'm calling around trying to get quotes, and either people like won't come out here, or if they are willing to come out here, it's so outlandish because they hear, oh, they don't even hear the Palma Valley. They hear you live at Palma Valley Country Club. They hear the country club. They hear me, and oh God, then they see that I'm a white woman. Then it's like the prices just immediately like go up, because they're thinking we're made out of money, which we're not. We're very lucky. We got a 4,200 square foot house for $675.
Oh, that's wow. In San Diego. Yeah.
San Diego County.
San Diego County.
Yeah. And that doesn't include the basement. Like we have a basement, and we have a basement because a Chicago couple built this house in the late 80s. And yeah. So like when we went to look at this house, I was like, why did they have two heatilators? And then I find out it was because stuff that's Midwest. So like and the earthworm house my parents built during their engagement that I grew up in, every entryway of that house had a brick entryway. Every entryway in this house has a brick entryway. Like there's just the only way it could be any like creepier is if there was like a hill on the backside making it earthwormed. But so yeah, so we moved to this house. I'm running into all those construction issues, and I'm watching Chip and Joanna Gaines on Fixer Upper, watching all these videos, and I'm like, but I'm just dying because I'm living in this house that's 50 Shades of Beige that is just killing my soul every day. And Daryl's going off every day to his then casino career in marketing and operations, doing all his creativity. And, he loves color too. So he's dressed colorful, doing his thing. Because people at his job always were like, oh, you dress him. And I'm like, we'd look at each other like, no, like Daryl does his own thing. He goes to beat of his own drum. Like camouflage, like he's former military. He's starting to embrace camouflage in his style. And I fucking love it. Because I'm like, he's like, I don't know, it's too much. And I'm like, if that's you, like, I don't want you to be a rainbow if you don't want to be a rainbow. If you want to be a camo, be a camo. So like, he's really embracing that. But anyway, like he was going off doing creativity every day. And I was getting upholstery work, but I was also taking on upholstery work that wasn't my, it wasn't even close to my aesthetic. I was just taking work to take work. I was recovering white chairs with white fabric. It was just killing my soul. And I was procrastinating so bad, not meeting my deadlines. Like, I was like, I'm not even going to have a business because no one's going to call me because I can't even, and I love the work, but if it doesn't involve some sort of colossal of hues, I don't want to be involved. So anyway, so I'm watching Fixer Upper. I'm sitting in this beige soul sucking house. That is such like in my mind. I like the thing is everyone's like seeing what's been in my mind for years. It's just, I've had to slowly do the work. Yeah. So like, I just had this idea. And so long story short, pitched it to Daryl. I was like, I want to renovate the house myself. He's like, okay. I was like, I want to record it and put it on YouTube. He's like, okay, what's the end game of this? I was like, end game is worst case scenario, no one watches a bloody episode and we get our house done to our liking. Best case scenario,
YouTube was going to pay for it. Yeah.
no, we get it funded. People like it. But also the end goal is I was like, I want to do this professionally. And I think I also want to do it on TV. It just like in a moment I had this idea and it was in the family room, which was the first room I renovated for Room Bloom, which I really, looking back, is like perfect because that was the room where I got the idea of Room Bloom. That's the room we were watching TV in when Daryl came up with the name Room Bloom. Because I was sitting there telling him, I want to call it something like, it's got to involve color. I was like, I keep thinking about like those paint by number kits, like room by color and blah, blah. And he's sitting there and he has the remote and he's like, Room Bloom. And he just drops the remote couch.
Drop the mic.
Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, Room Bloom. That's it. I'm like, Room Bloom. Yeah. Are you ready to see a Room Bloom? Like, yes, like that's it. So, so we did that and yeah. And that's, so I did the first room and it's all just slowly, and you're hearing it first. I am shooting my own furniture transformation series the end of March with the network. And yeah, don't know where it's going to air, when it's going to air. But yeah, we're things are.
No, it's a TV gig. Or is it going to be YouTube?
Right now it's going to start with digital and then it is with the network. So it finally, like, I've been to this dance 6 times. And it's been a learning experience. The moral of the story is, like most people, they just haven't known what to do with me. They're like, we like her, we just don't know what to do with her. But I've met another Earth Angel. Her name's Mary Ann, and she's she believes in the Jenna aesthetic and the talents. So we're gonna hopefully help others, ban the beige, embrace their own inner weird in their own home through DIY projects. There's going to be a couple, of course, I got to throw in a couple humdinger tough ones to really get the inspiration going. But a lot of the projects are going to be, you know, user friendly.
Well, I'm gonna watch that because I have a, oh my goodness, very old white replica of Eames chair that I really, really crave to upholster in something like bright yellow or some sort of turquoise.
Could just hire Ring Bloom Design and I could just
well, it was funny when you said that when people hear about where you are and then see that you're a white woman, like I cannot afford her, but I probably will. I mean,
yeah, that's
I have to, because I don't see anyone else reupholstering that chair in the way that I want.
Well, thank you. Well, that's the thing is like, I feel bad because people will contact me about their less than ideal jobs. Like I no longer take fix-it jobs because there really is no fixing an upholstery except like just starting over. Like I recently got contacted about a chair of a sofa that had been eaten by a dog. I love dogs. My mentor's business was called The Dog Ate My Couch. But they think like, oh, can't you just replace the arm? And I'm like, even if you have the same fabric, it's not going to look the same. Like you're going to be able to tell the new arm from the rest of it. So really, I don't take any fix-it jobs anymore. I do not do draperies. I'll, help you design your draperies and we'll find a drapery person, but they're just not, as a tradesperson, I don't sew them fast enough to make it worth my while. And it's not a joy for me. If it was a joy like painting, because my painting projects are very, structural and intricate. So, that stuff, when it's busy like that, but it brings me joy. So I'm like, whatever, I'm fine if I make peanuts on this in the end. But yeah, like I still take upholstery jobs. It's just not, it's gotta be my, like, there's got to be color involved. I don't want people to think that it always has to be like the portfolio house's aesthetic, because its aesthetic is our aesthetic as a couple, a family, and it's how I've built my Room Bloom Design portfolio. So I look forward to building my portfolio with other rooms. Like I have so many different ideas with different aesthetics, like, or genres of interior design, but infusing color with it. So like, I don't want to stay in one genre. So if you like color and you're listening to this, but you like a different, you're not about mid-century modern, maybe like Parisian or, something else, give me a call because I've got ideas. Lots of.
All the links and contact information will be in the show notes. So if you guys at this point, if you
really want to, I want to build my portfolio with commercial as well. Like if your studio needs to be more your brand, like I just want people to have these safe havens like I did growing up, because if I hadn't had that room growing up, I wouldn't be sitting in this room now helping other people's rooms bloom. So yeah, I want people to be more them and stop worrying about the trends or giving a fuck what the Kardashians think. You don't have to part your hair down the middle, girls. Yeah. So that's another thing I'm working on. Do you think about if you say, I just do this, you're justifying that action. So I'm always justifying myself to everyone. I'm just doing this. Please accept me.
Well, anyway, now I have a question. So we got from the very beginning of today's conversation, when we're talking about the dark times and your coping strategies and the difficult childhood and boring adolescence, then the musical theater, et cetera, and unhappy first marriage. Well, hello, welcome to the club.
Sometimes we gotta go through what it's not good for us to find out what's good.
Exactly. Yeah. It's always in my mind. Like, is it really necessary to go through all of that? Anyway, so
avoid it if you can. I don't recommend it. Avoid it if you can. But yeah.
Fast forward to the room bloom design and the happy marriage and the colorful house and all the projects that you have in mind. Sounds like you are, in a very healthy and happy situation. Can you say that is true? Because again, rewinding back to the beginning of the conversation, you just started a new codependency women's group and the new therapy, et cetera, et cetera. So where are you in your own self and in your own creativity? Because we experience.
I'm definitely in a healing chapter of my life, and things are definitely better. But I mean, I was having suicidal ideations in November, so that's the thing, is like we have to just learn. I've been so much about like being a peacekeeper, keeping the peace all my life, that I've completely pushed myself to the point of exhaustion where I just didn't want to be here anymore. And what I'm realizing is life isn't black and white. Like society, the government, people want to like portray it as black and white, but it's not. It's about all the in between. And yes, you can say gray, but get your agreeable gray out of here. I don't want to see it. But life is about the different hues of emotion. And I grew up in a situation where everything was like so volatile that I just went to the other, like if that was white, then I went over to the black side. Like it was very black and white in my brain. And then I found the color as my coping mechanism. So I'm just learning how to like take the really bad days with the good days, and learning how to just be like because I'm realizing that the goal of happiness is kind of a fool's errand, because it's not about happiness. It's about contentment. And I have found contentment in the creativity, and I've made that my life's goal, or color has helped me, whatever you want to say. But it's just, yeah, it's been a very interesting journey, and I'm just very thankful that I'm still here, and I will work design with color as long as I possibly can, and hopefully it's until, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. But yeah, I'm just learning how to like go with the flow with it, and being okay if stuff like if paint bleeds under the tape and stuff like that, and like just trying to be about the progress, not perfection. I mean, I even got triggered yesterday, just like starting to think about like, we're in the pre-production process of this new series. And like immediately yesterday, I was realizing I said, it's not on the feelings wheel, but in my codependency group last night, I was like, is neurotic on there? And they're like, no. And I'm like, oh, I'm just noticing everything. And so we came to the word stimulated, which I was like, I don't know if that's it. I'm still feeling like neurotic, but I just was starting to realize, like, notice everything that I like needed to do before we start filming. And I just started spiraling, and I just really had to like pump the brakes and be like, one day at a time, Jenna, like, we just gotta, like, it's just like when I take on a mural, like first day you draw it out, and then you tape, and then you prime, like I just gotta like back myself up and take myself through the steps. But I'm an eager beaver, so I want I want it all right now.
Is it one of your Nebraska words, eager beaver?
No, but I just like I want it all, and I want it right now. But the girl that eats the blueberry on Willy Wonka. That's me. I'm rolling around. Yeah.
Well, I got to ask you one more question, though. I mean, we're way past 1 hour, but last week, I just interviewed Sarah Steiber, and I know that you know Sarah, and she has painted 2 of the fabulous, fabulous portraits of yours.
Oh, not 2. There's like 4.
She mentioned 2, and I believe I have seen 2. I haven't seen the other ones. So yeah, now I'm curious.
You've seen the one in our house?
The on the couch on the.
Oh, the chaise, yes.
Yeah.
There's that one.
Yeah.
There's one with me like this.
I've seen that one.
There is the cell phone one.
I have not seen the cell phone.
I'm screaming at the cell phone. And then there's the other one where it's Farm Girl Jenna pulling back the farm, and I'm in Cali Jenna. There's 4 Sarah Steiber Jenna paintings.
I definitely haven't seen the other two.
I'll send them to you. You can share it with your
Oh my God. Yes, I would love that. It's fantastic. So how did that relationship come about? Let's pause right here because we're at the top of the hour. Jenna and I spoke for at least another 30 minutes. She told me how she met Sarah Steiber and became her muse for a series of portraits, and how her husband may or may not have bought one of the huge portraits at Sarah's open studio event. I posted this part of the conversation on Patreon for those of you who wants to join and listen. See you there. Coming on the podcast and sharing all of that.
Thank you so much, Galina, for having me on the show. And, if any of your color loves listening today want to check out, you're looking for some colorful inspiration, please check out and subscribe to Room Bloom on YouTube. I also have a monthly newsletter, that's the Color Love Gazette, that goes out. There's one going out today, probably not when this is airing. But it tends to go out the last day of the month, first day of the next month. And then I am Jenna Pilant on all socials, JennaPilant. Yes, it's French, Pilant, not Pilant. Yeah. And, just always remember, it's a great day to have a good one.
Awesome. And I think, so if you are filming your furniture flip series in March, and this episode is out in April, maybe there's a chance to be able to see that. So if that's out already, I will have a link for that.
It won't be out.
No. Okay. Well,
it'll
anyway.
It'll be in post-production. I have no idea when it'll even hit because it has to go through a whole approval process.
Okay, so at this point, you guys are listening. The series is in the post-production, so please stay tuned because as soon as it's coming out, I will make sure to share on our social media as well. So stay tuned.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Come back.
Go follow Jenna, subscribe to her YouTube channel, to her newsletter, so you will not miss that series either.
Oh, that would be awesome. Right. Awesome. Yeah, and cross all the fingers and light all the candles that it all pans out, because this has been the goal, people. But I'm very much a person that if this is the path, there'll be another one, because I've been on this path for a while and there's always bumps along the way.
Well, thank you again for coming to the show. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I don't know if it's good or not, but I am kind of glad that I caught you, in the headspace where you are today, because that has been something unexpected and something. So, well, thank you for being a real Jenna. That's what we're looking forward to see more, right? That's what you want to do. So, thank you for being real with us.
Very fluid concept at the moment. It's of all the paints bleeding together, but it's beautiful anyway.
Nonetheless. Well, and thank you for being in the art scene.
Thank you. This was delightful. And can't wait to do it again sometime.
Absolutely. It has been another episode of In the Art Scene podcast. If you liked today's conversation, please give us a good review on Apple and go listen to other great stories. Check out our website, intheartscene.com, or follow us on Instagram at intheartscene for more content. If you are a creative and you want to share your story, shoot us a message from the website or DM us on Instagram. Look forward to seeing you next time in the art scene.